Hey VC, this is Harvey from Spinning the Black Circle, and welcome to my Vinyl Tag 2024. It has been too long, almost a year since my last video upload, but there is a good reason for that. I mentioned in one of the last videos I did upload that I was having quite a big house extension and refurb done. That's now thankfully completed. It's been 11 months of hell, but part of that refurb was this now fantastic extended man cave, which is double the size. So I promise in the next 2 or 3 weeks I'll do a virtual room tour of the man cave and show you what I've done with it, so you can see what I've been up to. But that's why I've been quite absent, preoccupied with that. But anyway, let's get into it. On Rob's carefully selected 20 questions on Vinyl Tag 2024. First question is a favourite record that I have purchased during 2024. And without doubt for me, it's this Vertigo Swirl of the Sabbath debut LP, which I got at quite a knockdown price actually. But the reason I'm so pleased with it, apart from it's a wonderful LP and Vertigo Swirls are fantastic items to own, it sounds amazing. I played it for a friend over the Christmas period, and we couldn't believe, considering this is a 1969 LP, and this is the third pressing, by the way. There's virtually no surface noise at all, and very few clicks or pops anywhere on this. So I'm really thrilled. Also to have the actual Vertigo sleeve itself. So everything from the cover to the album's in amazing condition. So definitely the one I'm most pleased with as a Sabbath fan. I'm trying to stay away from, I did get a couple of digital reissues of Sabbath vinyl. This one I've got on the reissue program, and also Paranoid, and they just sound awful. So I've gone back to Vertigo Swirls. I've gone back to some of the NEMS 70s reissues that are all analog and sound really good actually. But anyway, definitely the top purchase for me was finding that Sabbath debut LP, Vertigo Swirl. Second question, last LP purchased, and I'm really pleased with this one. Almost as pleased as the Sabbath album. I'm a massive Emu Harris fan, massive country fan, and I saw this on the shelf, which is her debut LP, Gliding Bird, but it's a promo-only DJ copy of Gliding Bird by Emu Harris. Absolutely beautiful. Someone's also put inside it a newspaper clipping on Emu from about 1980, which has fallen a bit. So that's quite a nice touch as well. But as you can see from this label, it's a DJ-only copy on the Jubilee label of the, don't know if you can see that very well, of the Emu Harris debut. I know she's disowned this LP, but it's really good actually. It's some of her original songs and some Dylan covers on here too. So it very much sounds like Emu to me, probably slightly less country than she became in the Hot Band, but really thrilled to have that as an Emu fan, because that's pretty rare to have this DJ promo copy. There's a couple of them on Discogs. It's the only one on Discogs in the UK, so that was tremendous. Rob's third question, if I can just take a slurp first, was in Artist who's released 2 albums in the same year. Now it's too easy to go back to the 60s for this, and I'm talking to you, Mazzy. And that's why I've gone for something harder, which is the 70s and the late 70s. So not that many bands in the late 70s were still releasing 2 studio albums, especially in the same year. Now I think this band are hugely underrated, and I can't believe they don't get that much coverage in VC. I'm talking about Cheap Trick, a band who I've seen twice live, and who are probably the loudest band I've seen live. And I've seen Metallica live, and I've seen some incredibly heavy metal bands. I've seen Iron Maiden live, but Cheap Trick were louder and heavier than both of those bands just a few years ago in Birmingham, actually, in Wolverhampton, sorry. But they released Cheap Trick, both amazing LPs as well. Their debut self-titled LP was released in 1977, and they followed that up with In Colour and in Black and White in the same year. And to think of the quality of these LPs and Rick Nielsen's songwriting, I mean, the reason I say they're underrated is their purple patch stretching from this debut through to their 1980 LP, All Shook Up, is tremendous. You had these 2 albums, and then you had Heaven Tonight, which is an amazing LP, At Budokan Live LP, which most people have either got or heard of. Then you had Dream Police, which is an amazing album, and then finishing with All Shook Up. And so that purple patch, there's some great later Cheap Trick albums too, but that purple patch is amazing, and I think it's an incredibly underrated back catalogue in the canon is that Cheap Trick run from 1977 through to 1980. So there you go, that's the two albums released in the same year, from 1977. Which decade, if I had to choose one decade? It's interesting actually, because the decade when I really got into music and when I became cognizant of music and purchased it was the 1980s. So I was born in 1971. I started getting into music when I was about 13, 14 in the mid 80s. But actually, I can't choose a decade other than the 70s. I love the 60s. I'm a Stones fan. I'm a Beatles fan. I love the Kinks. I love 60s Stax and Motown. I love psychedelia. I love the Doors. I love the Kinks. I love the Byrds. But if I think about the 70s and I think about the Purple Patch of Deep Purple, of Led Zeppelin, of Yes, of the real fantastic period of Stevie Wonder albums stretching from Where I'm Coming From all the way through the songs in the Key of Life. I think about that Bowie Purple Patch running through all of the 70s, and I think about British rock bands like Bad Company and Free coming into their own. It's the 70s for me, and I'm going to actually choose a Dutch band from this period just to show the depth of what the 70s was, and the Making Waves LP by Focus, Dutch band Focus, featuring Jan Ackerman, and their famous lengthy track Hocus Pocus from this album. But yeah, the 70s for me are the decade, despite being really a child of the 80s in terms of when I started really digging music. Manchester band. I've tried to make sure this is not too obvious. There's a real resurgence of great British jazz. Resurgence is the wrong word. There was a real new guard of British jazz that I don't know if American VC people are aware of. It's massive at the moment. There's so many good UK jazz bands, from The Comet Is Coming to Bingham Moses to Emma Jean Thackeray to Ezra Collective, who I'll come on to later, and this spiritual jazz UK artist named Matthew Halsall and the Gondwana Orchestra from Manchester. So spiritual jazz in the vein of Alice Coltrane is what I mean. That sort of thing. But it is frustrating. I think the American listeners, you need to start looking up some of these British jazz acts, because we're having a real purple patch at the minute. I missed out Yaz Ahmed too. There's so many good British jazz musicians at the moment, and Matthew Halsall is among those. This is a tremendous LP from a few years ago named When the World Was Worn. So gorgeous spiritual jazz from Matthew Halsall, who is a Manchester musician, and his Gondwana Orchestra. So that was question 5. Who's the band I listened to the most in 2023? So I could lie about this, but I'm not going to. And I would have laughed at myself 5 years ago, because I would have thought I was too cool for this. But I have definitely listened to ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, more than any other band this year. And I've gone back and bought most but not all of their 70s they put on vinyl, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I looked at my the Spotify All Wrapped or whatever it's called for the year, and the most played track was was Starlight by ELO from the Out of the Blue LP, and I played it something like 40 or 50 times during the year without even realising it. And so I've become slightly obsessed by the uncool tones of Jeff Lynne and ELO during 2023. And I've just bought this LP, actually. Steve Whitty featured in his 20, which is Face the Music from 1975, which is a really good album. And Strange Magic from this has really got to me in particular. But it's I mean, they're already into Jeff Lynne, coming out with those amazing pop hits by the time we got to Face the Music in 1975. So yeah, ELO, I can't lie, may not be the coolest, but have been my most played band during 2023, and I've thoroughly enjoyed them. Next question was show 7 45s or 7 inches. And I've started buying quite a few more of these, actually. I've still massively predominantly got LPs over singles, but but I think it's an underrated format, and you can have a fantastic evening just listening to some 7 inches. And so the 7 I've selected, I recently got this actually, the original pressing of the Pogues Fairy Tale in New York. So R.I.P. Shane McGowan. Really pleased to get hold of this, but really sad that he's passed away. We've got underrated 7-inch by Japan, Life in Tokyo, actually, the Giorgio Moroder remix of this. I don't know why this wasn't a bigger hit, but that's excellent. Next one is I bought an LP by Fontella Bass, which is fantastic, named Free, which is, I think it's from the early 70s. It's just over in the rack there. And I thought, well, if I've got that, I can't not have her biggest hit, Rescue Me. So this is Rescue Me by Fontella Bass on 7-inch. She's just got an amazing voice, very much redolent of Aretha Franklin, for those who've heard her. Obviously, you've heard Rescue Me. Next one is because I was watching some movies over Christmas, and I was rewatching the Avengers Infinity War movie, and there's a scene where the Guardians of the Galaxy come on the screen, and in the Detroit Spinners track, Rubber Band Man's playing, and it's such a groovy track that I've bought that on 7-inch. No desire to have the whole album, but it's got Rubber Band Man Parts 1 and 2 on the A and B side, so that's fantastic. Next one, underrated British punk band, current British punk band, named The Lovely Eggs, and the 7-inch they did a couple of years back with Iggy Pop, named I Am Moron. So if you haven't heard The Lovely Eggs, you should check out some of their stuff, because they're an amazing UK punk band. The next one, I really wanted to have Silver Springs by Fleetwood Mac on vinyl, because it's not obviously on the Rumours LP. I know it's on the live LP, but I didn't really see it anywhere else. It's probably on one of the greatest hits on vinyl, but I got the 7-inch of Go Your Own Way, which happens to have Silver Springs on the B-side. How pissed must Stevie Nicks have been at the time that Silver Springs is such an amazing song, could have been a hit, and it wasn't even featured on the album. Anyway, she's probably got her revenge now. Everybody knows how great a song Silver Springs is. The last of the 7, and I think people need to open their eyes to this, actually. You can still get, despite the spiraling costs of Beatles stuff on vinyl, a really good quality copy of the Magic Mystery Tour EPs on vinyl for not much money. And this is complete with the full booklet of everything in it. You know, the 2 vinyls, and it's in immaculate condition considering how old it is, original UK pressing. So, I mean, that was something like £10. So there you go, there's the 7 inches I selected. 4 people I would have dinner with from the music industry. This might surprise you. I'd invite Sting, because I want to find out if he's really the wanker that everybody says he is. I bet he's not. So I think he might have some interesting stories about times in the police. So Sting would be the first one. And I also probably haven't heard much of, or you may have heard one song by Corey Hart, who released a 7-inch single, who released a single, Sunglasses at Night, which is a big 80s hit. But I've followed his career, actually, and he's released some amazing LPs. He's not a one-hit wonder. And I'm also on his Facebook page. He's one of those artists, actually. He's a big artist still in Canada who will respond to messages and DMs. And he's a really cool chap. So I'd invite Corey Hart. He's quite an interesting chap. I would get Joni Mitchell there, just to have a chat with her about everything from politics to how she writes songs. And then the last one, there'll be a British musician, Steve Hogarth from Marillion. I think Marillion are an underrated band. And the interviews, the way they treat their fans too, they treat their fans really well, and they have these kind of special events where they have fan Q&As, and it just seems like a really great environment. He seems like a really good guy, and his lyrics are so heartfelt too. So my 4th guest would be Steve Hogarth from Marillion to that dinner party. Musician who died during 2023. They're tempted to say Shane McGowan or Sinead O'Connor, but actually I've gone for Tony Bennett in this tremendous LP, Like My Heart in San Francisco, one of his biggest hits, and this is great. I think this is a mono. Is it a mono? That's a stereo version of that LP, which you can pick up for not very much. But I mean, just a great crooner, probably underrated. Tony Bennett, respected certainly, but probably a little bit underrated. So R.I.P. Tony Bennett. There was one country that I was going to choose. in terms of just having music from that country, I think it would have to be the UK. I know some people have gone for more esoteric choices than the UK, but if I look at the weight of music from the British invasion to everything we did through the 70s, through to the 90s in the Hacienda scene and through punk in the 70s, I think the UK's led the way, so I'm going to choose one of the eminent bands, and that's the Stones and Let It Bleed. And this is something I'm very proud of, which is a mono pressing of the Stones Let It Bleed original pressing, denoted by this this pink mono sticker on the back, so in great condition on the Decca original. So sure, thought I would show that off, but I would say the UK and probably the Stones, probably, if not my favourite band in the world and one of my favourite bands ever. Three VC channels that I have discovered during 2023 that I love. This would be the chap who runs WCB Jazz. He just seems to be an absolute oracle on all things jazz. Across all labels, actually, he's a Blue Note specialist. He seems to be a Riverside and a Prestige specialist. So he's a great chap in enviable knowledge of what he's doing. Steve Westman, discovered you in 2023 in his collective calls that he has, and Mazzy's part of that. His channel is excellent. And the last one is this chap, I don't know his name, but he does something called Classic Album Review, which seems to focus mainly on rock and prog. But I just like his style, his kind of sonic style, and how he explains things. And he's got quite a angular way of coming at music, so I quite like that too. Name an album I bought as a teenager. So this one that I'm still proud to own is that really got me really excited about music, and that's Hall & Oates and Big Bam Boom, their 1984 album. You know, not the coolest choice in the world, respect the tash and all of that, but fantastic nonetheless. And I still own this and still cherish it. Big Bam Boom, my whole. Apparently they've fallen out big time, and there's they've got a lawsuit against each other. Hall & Oates, which is really disappointing after well over 50 years together as a duo. So let's hope they resolve that very soon. A soul or funk LP is question 13. This is one I played over the Christmas holidays, and it's one of the greatest soul live albums I've ever heard. And this is Curtis Mayfield's Curtis from 1971. I got it for not very much money. It's a gorgeous pressing on the Butter Records label. So I've cleaned up on my project, but yeah, I mean, extended versions of some of his impressions and solo material on this. This predates Superfly, so Superfly's not on there. But if you're looking at soul live albums, it's up there with the very best. So that's I'm a big soul and funk fan, so I could have chosen from literally hundreds, but that's the one that I thought I would highlight. It's not that well known. Right. Next is an album that everyone has, and an album that nobody has. And I've selected two. Obviously, the first one is, I think most people have got this, it's Carole King's Tapestry. And I think for those in VC who are starting off on a vinyl collection, could do worse than pick up an early pressing, either UK or US, of one of these pressings of Tapestry. Make sure it's all analog. I don't like the digital reissues of it at all. So either looking at an original A&M or one of these epic reissues from 1970. I think I've got three versions of Tapestry, and the digital reissue one, it definitely is from a digital source, it's the worst of the three. But I've got an A&M pressing, which sounds great, but it's not in great condition. But the best one I've got is this epic pressing from, I think, 1978, which just sounds fantastic. But Tapestry, most people have got that. If you haven't, it should be an early vinyl purchase. Then one that I'd be surprised, well, actually, only 149 other people in the world could have this, because there was only 150 copies of this pressed. And this is by a Welsh dub psych band named the Mushroom Project, and this is an album named Full Tilt. So I wish I could play or point you to where to play this, but it's not on YouTube. It's not on a streaming service, and it was brought to my attention by my local record guru Pete Bonner and Segatron Records. But it's amazing dub psych stuff. The guitar is fantastic, all instrumental, 2 long tracks of 20 odd minutes each. It's just tremendous. So if I could play some of this, I would, but I can't. So there's only 150 copies of that pressed globally, and it just shows how much music's out there that is amazing that lots of people just don't get to hear, right? So that's the two albums, one that you're aware of, one that you're probably not aware of. Next question is a female artist. So I've gone for 3 female artists who recorded one album together. This for me is the best album released, new material released in 2023. And I'm talking about The Record by Boy Genius. If you hadn't heard of Boy Genius, you soon will have, because these are already massive and going to be even bigger. So they're a trio of American solo artists in their own right, actually. And yeah, The Record by Boy Genius, that's my album of 2023. Everything from the harmonies to the songwriting to the arrangements. They're an amazing band. I think they recently sold out Madison Square Gardens, and it's no surprise because they're a tremendous album. So they're going to be so big, and I suggest you get on the bandwagon before Joe or Joanne Public spoil them. So that's Boy Genius. Favorite video that I've uploaded in the last year, and favourite by somebody else. So I haven't really done any videos in the last year. The last series I started to do was review each Blue Note classic album, repressed, remastered by Kevin Gray, but I only got 3 or 4 albums into that, so maybe I need to pick up on that. So let's say that the first Blue Note repress video I did, which was of The Sidewinder by Lee Morgan, I'll choose that. Favored by somebody else, probably the Steve Westman collective video where they talked about the acoustic sounds, Steely Dan reissues, and that persuaded me to buy this beauty, which is Asia on UHQR, which is unbelievable. Believe the hype. I've had three people around in the man cave, and each one of them said they couldn't believe how great Asia sounded. Believe the hype, it's that good. If you're a Steely Dan fan, I would highly recommend Asia on that UHQR pressing if you can possibly afford it. It's not essential to enjoy Asia, but it really is great if you can stretch to it. Okay. Question 17. A 90s album. So I'm going to choose some hip-hop for this, which is Check Your Head by the Beastie Boys. Tremendous album from 1992. This is reissued, remastered, but it sounds fantastic. You've got Pastor Meg on here, Groove Jones. It's just a great funky Beastie Boys album, but it started to kind of stretch into their career. They were beyond that kind of bully boy, boisterous phase into something much more musical by the time they got to Check Your Head. So yeah, question 17 is Beastie Boys, Check Your Head. Question 18, if you're going to walk into an album cover, what would it be? I'm going to say this Ezra Collective album. So I mentioned UK Jazz. This is the 2022 album where I'm meant to be by Ezra Collective. And look at that cover, which is a scene of them playing music together. I'd love to walk into there. I bet the grooves were fantastic. I bet they had some nice drinks going. And it's looking like they're having a great time. So this is a great LP, actually. Where I'm meant to be by Ezra Collective. USVC people, if you don't believe what I'm saying about UK Jazz, check out Ezra Collective from London and this album, Where I'm Meant to Be. Question 19, an album that plays like a greatest hits album. I'm going to choose a quite recent LP, actually, the 1975 album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language by 1975 from 2022. This plays like a greatest hits album. It's so good. They've honed down their songwriting, and it isn't a bad track on this. Prior to this album, they used to supplement their album tracks, their songs, with instrumentals, but the clear approach on this was to hone down to 11 or 12 amazing songs, and they've really achieved that on this LP. Finally then, we've got to question 20 in under 25 minutes. An album released in 1974, 50 years old. Look no further than Bridge of Sighs by Robin Trevor. Tremendous British guitarist. Procol Harum, is that right? I think so. The Bridge of Sighs, I think, is a signature work. Got a few of his LPs. He's just released an album, actually, not so long ago, named Joyful Sky, which is good. The Bridge of Sighs from 1974, 50 years old. Original Chrysalis pressing. This is a tremendous album. What I was getting at when I said 70s being the best decade, I mean, this is deep into the decade. And this is absolutely amazing. So there you have it. Bridges Size from 1974. So there you have it. Vinyl Tag 2024. Thanks for listening. I'll try and upload a lot more than I have over the past year, which won't be difficult. I'll come back very soon with the room tour to show you what I've done with the man cave. Meantime, take care, have a good week, and bye.